I pulled into my driveway that Thursday afternoon, grocery bags in the back seat, and my heart stopped. My belongings were scattered across the front lawn like garbage on collection day. Photographs of my late husband in their frames, my gardening tools, boxes of Christmas ornaments, my mother's vintage quilts, my sewing machine sat crooked on the grass. And there on my porch stood Amber, my daughter-in-law, arms crossed, wearing that smirk I'd grown to recognize. When I stepped out of the car and asked what was happening, she sneered. "Clear this junk out. My baby needs a room." I stood there for a moment, trying to process what I was seeing. 32 years I'd lived in this house. 32 years of memories now dumped on the lawn like trash waiting for pickup. My hands were shaking as I walked toward the porch, leaving the groceries in the car. "These aren't trash," I said, keeping my voice as steady as I could. "These are my things, my life." Amber rolled her eyes in that exaggerated way she had, like I was the most ridiculous person she'd ever encountered. "Oh, come on, Celeste. You're being so dramatic. I've been planning the nursery for weeks, and all this hoarding of yours is in the way. We need space for the baby." "Hoarding?" I felt heat rising in my chest. These were my possessions, carefully stored, each one meaningful. The photograph of my husband holding baby Travis at the hospital. The quilt my mother stitched by hand over 6 months. My gardening tools that had grown tomatoes and roses for 3 decades. "Where's Travis?" I asked, looking past her into the house. My house. "He's at work," she said flatly. "And he knows all about this. We've been discussing it for a while, actually." "How you need to downsize anyway? You're what, 67 now? You don't need all this stuff cluttering up the place." "Downsize?" I repeated. "Amber, this is my home. I raised Travis here after his father died. Every single thing you threw out matters to me." She shrugged, one hand resting on her swollen belly. 7 months pregnant, and already acting like she owned the place. Well, things change. We're starting a family. Priorities shift. You understand? "No," I said, my voice firmer now. "I don't understand. You and Travis have been here 18 months. You said it was temporary while you saved money. This was never supposed to be permanent." Her expression changed then. The mock sweetness disappeared, replaced by something cold. "Actually, Celeste, we've been meaning to talk to you about that. We're not going anywhere. Travis grew up here. This is his home, too. And honestly, at your age, maybe you should think about moving somewhere smaller. One of those nice senior apartments downtown." I stared at her. "Excuse me?" "You heard me." She examined her nails casually. "This house is too big for one person. You're getting older. It makes sense for you to find something more manageable." My blood pressure was rising. I could feel it pounding in my temples. "This is my house, Amber. My name is on the deed. If anyone's moving, it's you and Travis. I want you out. 30 days. She laughed. Actually laughed, head thrown back like I'd told the funniest joke she'd ever heard. Then she pulled out her phone, tapping the screen a few times before turning it toward me. "Remember when you had that terrible flu last winter?" she asked sweetly. "When Travis brought you all those papers to sign? For your will and healthcare stuff?" I remembered. I'd been so sick, fever of 102 degrees, could barely sit up. Travis had been so attentive, bringing me soup, checking on me. He'd said the papers were important, that we needed to get my affairs in order just in case. I'd trusted him. He was my son, my only child. Of course I'd trusted him. "Well," she continued, "those weren't just will documents. Hidden in there, on page 7, was a quitclaim deed. Travis is now a co-owner of this house." She smiled, showing her teeth. "So you can't kick us out of Travis's own house. And good luck trying to undo it. That would be a nasty legal battle. And do you really have the money for lawyers?" The world tilted. I grabbed the porch railing to steady myself. He wouldn't. Travis wouldn't do that to me. But even as I thought it, I knew it was true. The way she was looking at me, so confident, so triumphant. She wasn't lying. "You tricked me," I whispered. "You both tricked me when I was sick." Amber shrugged again. "You signed the papers, Celeste. Should have read them more carefully. Now, are you going to clear your junk off the lawn, or should I call someone to haul it to the dump?" I looked at my belongings scattered across the grass. My life, reduced to trash. And I looked at this woman, this stranger my son had married 3 years ago, standing in my doorway like she owned the place. Because apparently, legally, she kind of did. "Get inside," I said quietly. "Both of you. When Travis gets home, we're gonna talk about this." She smirked again and turned, walking back into my house. I heard the door close behind her. Not slam, just close. Casual, easy, like she hadn't just upended my entire world. I spent the next hour gathering my things from the lawn, carrying them to the garage. Neighbors walking their dogs stared. I kept my head down, humiliation burning through me. How had this happened? How had I ended up here? Travis came home at 6:15. I heard his truck in the driveway, heard him greeting Amber in the kitchen. I was sitting in the living room, the quitclaim deed papers in my lap. Papers I'd found in the filing cabinet after Amber showed me her phone. Sure enough, there was my signature, shaky from fever, on a document that gave away half my house. "We need to talk," I said when he walked in. He stopped, saw my face, and his expression shifted. That guilty look children get when they're caught. "Mom," he started. "Don't." I held up the papers. "Explain this to me, Travis. Explain how you had me sign away half my house when I was sick with a fever of 102. He sat down, but not next to me. In the chair across the room. Distance. That should have told me everything. "Mom, you're overreacting." "Overreacting?" I felt my voice rising. "You deceived me. You had me sign legal documents when I was barely conscious, and you didn't tell me what they really were. I told you they were important papers. You should have read them. I was sick. I trusted you." "Exactly," he said, leaning forward. "You trust me. Because I'm your son. Because I love you. And that's why I did this. You're getting older, Mom. What if something happens to you? What if you fall? Or get really sick again? I needed to make sure I could help you. Make decisions about the house if necessary. By stealing half of it? By lying to me? I didn't steal anything." He was getting defensive now, his voice harder. "I'm your son. This house should be mine someday anyway, right? I just made it happen sooner. And honestly, with the baby coming, Amber and I need security. We need to know we have a stable home. You had a stable home. Here, temporarily, until you saved enough to buy your own place. That was the agreement." Agreements change. He stood up, started pacing. Life changes. We have a baby on the way. We can't afford rent and saving for a house. This made sense. "For you," I said quietly. "It made sense for you, not for me. This is my home, Travis. I raised you here after your father died. I worked 2 jobs to keep this roof over our heads, to put you through college. And this is how you repay me?" Amber appeared in the doorway, right on cue. Tears on her face. Fake tears. I could tell. Maybe Travis couldn't, but I could. "Celeste, I've tried so hard to get along with you," she said, her voice trembling. "But you've been so cold to me since Travis and I got married." The passive-aggressive comments about my cooking, about how I clean, about my pregnancy choices. I've ignored it because I know you're Travis's mother, but now you're trying to throw us out when I'm 7 months pregnant? I stood up. "That is not true. I have never been anything but welcoming to you." "Really?" She crossed her arms under her belly. "What about last month when you said my pot roast was interesting? Everyone knows interesting means bad." I said it was different from how I make it. That's not an insult. Or, when you told me I shouldn't be drinking coffee while pregnant, because the doctor recommends limiting caffeine. I was trying to help. "See," Travis said, "this is what we're dealing with. You're critical, Mom. You judge everything Amber does, and now you're being completely unreasonable about the house situation." I looked at my son. Really looked at him. When had he become this person? This stranger who could look me in the eye and twist reality? "I want you both out," I said. "I don't care what the deed says. This is still my house. Find somewhere else to live." Travis's face went cold. "If you keep acting like this, Mom, acting unstable and irrational, we're going to have serious concerns about your mental health. Real concerns." The words hung in the air. A threat. Clear as day. Amber dabbed at her fake tears. "Maybe we should call someone. Get her evaluated. Make sure she's okay. I'm standing right here, I said, and I'm perfectly fine. You two are the problem, not me. But even as I said it, I felt a chill. The way they looked at each other, the way Amber nodded slightly. They were planning something. I could feel it. I went to bed that night barely able to sleep. And the next morning, everything got worse. The doorbell rang at 8:30. I answered it in my bathrobe, coffee cup in hand, to find a police officer and a woman in a blazer holding a clipboard. "Celeste Morrison?" the woman asked. "Yes? I'm Karen Fletcher, from Adult Protective Services. We received a report expressing concerns about your welfare. May we come in?" My stomach dropped. "What?" "Someone called yesterday, expressing concern that you might be experiencing cognitive decline. Memory issues, paranoia, erratic behavior. We're required to follow up on these reports." I looked past them to see Amber watching from the kitchen window, smiling. They came inside. They asked me questions. "What year is it? Who's the president? Can you count backward from 100 by sevens?" Basic things that I answered easily because I'm not experiencing any cognitive decline whatsoever. But the report was filed, the record was started. And I realized this was their next move. If they couldn't force me out through intimidation, they'd try to paint me as mentally incompetent. The social worker left after 45 minutes, saying she saw no immediate concerns, but the damage was done. The seed was planted, and I knew Amber and Travis would water it, feed it, help it grow, until they could convince someone, anyone, that I needed a conservator. Someone to control my life, someone like Travis. The next 2 weeks were a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. Amber kept pushing her narrative. She called my doctor, Patricia Brennan, who I'd been seeing for 15 years. "Doctor?" Brennan told me about it later. Said Amber had called expressing concern about my memory, my judgment, mentioned the argument about the house, and framed it like I didn't remember Travis was a co-owner. Patricia didn't believe her, thank goodness. She told me I was one of her sharpest patients, that my recent physical had shown excellent health for someone my age. But the call had been made. Another seed planted. Then the letter came. From a lawyer named Gordon Walsh. I recognized the name. Travis had mentioned him before, said they'd gone to college together, played on the same softball team. The letter was carefully worded, professional, suggested a family meeting to discuss care planning for my future, mentioned the possibility of establishing a conservatorship for my own protection and financial security, made it sound like they were doing me a favor, looking out for me. I sat at my kitchen table, hands shaking, reading and rereading that letter. Conservatorship. I knew what that meant. I'd seen it on the news, heard stories. Someone else controlling your money, your medical decisions, where you live. A judge deciding you're not capable of managing your own life. And if that someone was Travis, I'd be trapped. Completely trapped. I called a lawyer myself, Helen Jacobs. She'd worked with my husband years ago, before he died. I trusted her, or at least I trusted her more than I trusted anyone connected to Travis right now. Helen met me at a coffee shop downtown. She looked older than I remembered, her hair more gray than brown now, but her eyes were still sharp. "Tell me everything," she said. I did. The whole story. The quitclaim deed, the belongings on the lawn, the Adult Protective Services call, the conservatorship letter. By the time I finished, my coffee was cold and I was crying. Helen took notes, asked questions. Then she reviewed the quitclaim deed I'd brought. "It's technically legal," she said finally. "Unethical as hell, but legal. You signed it. Unless we can prove you weren't mentally competent at the time, or that you signed under duress or undue influence, it's going to be very hard to challenge." I was sick. I had a high fever. I didn't understand what I was signing. "That might work. We can get your medical records from that time, show you were impaired. But it'll be expensive, Celeste. And uncertain. Judges don't like to overturn property transfers without solid proof. What about the conservatorship? That's more concerning." She leaned forward. "If they're building a case that you're incompetent, you need to be very careful. Any misstep, any emotional outburst, any forgotten appointment or missed bill payment, they'll use it as evidence. You need to be absolutely beyond reproach." I nodded, feeling the weight of it. How do you live beyond reproach when your own son is watching your every move, waiting for you to slip up? Document everything, Helen said. Keep records of all your activities, bills paid, appointments attended. If they make accusations, we need to prove them false. And stay calm, no matter how much they provoke you. Don't give them ammunition. I went home determined to follow her advice. But when I got there, I found my checkbook was missing. My credit cards, too. All my financial documents that I kept in my desk drawer. Amber was in the kitchen, chopping vegetables for dinner. "Where are my financial documents?" I asked, trying to keep my voice level. "Oh, those?" She didn't look up from her cutting board. "I put them somewhere safe. You left them lying around where anyone could steal them. I'm just being careful with your important stuff. I need them back, now." She looked at me then, smiled that smile I'd come to hate. "Once we sort out a better system for managing your finances, I'll get them back to you. We can't have you leaving sensitive information where anyone could find it." I felt rage building in my chest, but I remembered Helen's words. "Stay calm. Don't give them ammunition. Those are my private documents, Amber. You have no right to take them. I'm protecting you." She went back to her vegetables. "You should be thanking me." I walked away before I said something I'd regret. Went to my bedroom and closed the door, tried to calm down. Then I decided to check my bank account online. The balance was wrong, several $1,000s wrong. I called the bank, spoke to a customer service representative named Jennifer, who informed me that Travis Morrison had been added as a joint account holder 2 weeks ago and had made several large transfers to his personal account. "I didn't authorize that," I said. "The authorization was done in person at our downtown branch, ma'am." "Do you share your account with Travis Morrison?" "No. He's my son, but he's not on my account. Or he wasn't." "Let me look into this." She put me on hold. Came back 5 minutes later. "Ma'am, I see the signature card from when he was added. It appears to have your signature." I didn't sign anything. "There's also a power of attorney document on file, giving him authority over your financial accounts in case of your incapacity." I never signed that either. Or if I did, it was hidden in those papers when I was sick. The same papers with the quitclaim deed. My heart was racing. They weren't just threatening to take control. They were already doing it. Already stealing from me. "I'd like to remove him from my account immediately," I said. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but according to our records, there's a flag on the account. Mr. Morrison expressed concerns about your susceptibility to scams and requested that large withdrawals be reviewed. For your protection." "For my protection? He's stealing from me." "Ma'am, I understand you're upset, but we have to follow the protocols in place. If you believe there's fraud occurring, you'll need to file a police report and potentially speak with our fraud department." I hung up. Filed a police report online. Knew it probably wouldn't matter. Everything Travis had done was just barely legal enough that he could claim he was protecting me, caring for me, acting in my best interests. That night, I barely ate dinner. Amber asked if I was feeling okay. Travis looked concerned. Both so convincing in their false caring. "I'm fine," I said, "just tired." "You should rest more, Mom," Travis said. "You've seemed really stressed lately. That's not good for someone your age." Someone my age. Like I was ancient, decrepit, incapable. I went to bed early, lay there staring at the ceiling. This was really happening. My son was stealing from me, isolating me, building a case to take away my freedom. And I was running out of time to stop him. The next 3 weeks blurred together in a haze of control and humiliation. Travis and Amber had effectively taken over my house. They'd changed the locks on 2 of the bedrooms upstairs, saying they needed privacy for the nursery and their own space. The only rooms I could access were my own bedroom, the bathroom, and the common areas downstairs. When I came and went, Amber always seemed to be there, watching, asking where I was going, when I'd be back, like I needed permission to leave my own house. She'd also started talking to the neighbors. I found out from Carol Martinez, who lived 3 doors down, that Amber had stopped her in the grocery store and had a long conversation about how I was struggling, how they were taking care of me, how it was such a burden. But of course they loved me. Carol told me this with concern in her eyes. Are you okay, Celeste? Do you need help? I'm fine, I said. Amber's exaggerating. I'm perfectly capable. But I could see the doubt in Carol's face. Amber had gotten there first, planted the narrative. Now anything I said would sound like denial. My friends started calling less. The book club I'd been part of for 12 years suddenly didn't have room when I asked about the next meeting. Later, I found out Amber had called the organizer, Susan Palmer, and suggested I needed rest, that I wasn't myself lately, that maybe I should take a break from activities. Susan had believed her. They all believed her. I tried to withdraw cash from my account one day at the bank. The teller, a young man named Brian, looked uncomfortable as he told me there was a hold on withdrawals over $200. A hold? I said. On my own money? I'm sorry, ma'am. It says here that due to concerns about potential scam vulnerability, large cash withdrawals need to be approved by the joint account holder. The joint account holder, who stole several $1,000s from me? Brian looked even more uncomfortable. Ma'am, I can't comment on other transactions. Would you like to speak with a manager? I left without the money. Went home and locked myself in my bedroom. Cried for the first time in weeks. Real, heaving sobs. The kind where you can't catch your breath. I was a prisoner, in my own house. My son had stolen my money, my freedom, my dignity, and everyone believed I was the problem. Helen Jacobs called me 3 days later with news. We need to act fast, she said. I've been doing some research. We can document everything that's happening, gather evidence of financial abuse and manipulation. Your doctor will testify you're competent. We can fight this. But it's expensive, she added quietly. Legal fees for something like this could run into the tens of thousands. I don't care, I said. Use whatever I have left. I'm not letting them do this to me. Okay, start documenting everything. Write down every conversation, every incident. Get copies of any paperwork you can find. We'll need evidence. I did. I started keeping a journal, writing down everything that happened. Every snide comment from Amber. Every time Travis talked about me like I wasn't in the room. Every document I found that they'd hidden. It was hard, though. They'd taken most of my important papers. I had limited access to the computer since they were always around, and I was exhausted. The stress was affecting my sleep, my appetite. I'd lost 12 pounds in a month, Amber noticed. Mentioned it loudly at dinner one night in front of Travis. Celeste, you're looking so thin. Are you eating enough? Maybe we should talk to Dr. Brennan about your appetite. Sometimes depression in elderly people can cause weight loss. I'm 67, not elderly. And I'm not depressed. I'm stressed because you two are stealing from me and trying to take my house. Travis sighed. Mom, please don't start this again. Start what? The truth? Your paranoid accusations. This is exactly what Gordon was talking about in his letter. These irrational beliefs that were conspiring against you. They're not irrational if they're true, but I could see it on his face. He believed what he was saying. Or he'd convinced himself to believe it. Either way, I was the villain in his story. The difficult elderly mother who couldn't see that her loving family was trying to help her. Then, 2 weeks later, everything got worse. I found out the house was for sale. I saw the sign going up on the lawn. A realtor named Sharon Klein from Prestige Properties hammering the post into my front yard. I ran outside. What are you doing? I said. Oh, hello, she smiled brightly. You must be Celeste. Travis and Amber told me about you. I'm Sharon, and I'll be handling the sale of your beautiful home. This house isn't for sale. Her smile faltered slightly. Well, according to the listing agreement I have, both property owners have agreed to sell. Travis Morrison and Celeste Morrison. That's you, right? I never agreed to sell. She pulled out paperwork. There's a signature here. And Travis mentioned you'd been having some memory issues lately, so if you don't remember signing, that's okay. He's your co-owner and can make decisions about the property. My vision blurred with rage. Get that sign out of my yard. Ma'am, I understand this is stressful, but the listing is valid. The house goes live on the market tomorrow. We already have 3 interested buyers scheduled to tour this weekend. I stormed back inside. Found Travis in the kitchen. You listed my house for sale? Our house, Mom. And yes, it's too big for you to manage. and Amber and I need to move somewhere better suited for the baby. This makes sense. You can't sell my house without my permission. Actually, I can. I'm a co-owner. And you'll get your share of the proceeds. Well, most of it. We'll need to keep some to buy our new place, but you'll have enough for a nice assisted living apartment. Assisted living? Amber walked in, as always, right on cue. We've already picked one out for you, Celeste. Riverside Gardens. It's very nice. They have activities and meal service. You'll love it. I'm not moving to a facility. Travis took a deep breath, like he was dealing with a difficult child. Mom, if you fight us on this, we'll have to go through with the conservatorship petition. Gordon has it all drawn up. We were hoping to avoid court, but if you're going to be difficult, we'll do what we have to do. Is that what you want? A judge deciding what's best for you? The threat was clear. Cooperate or lose everything. I looked at my son, at Amber standing next to him, one hand on her belly, smug satisfaction on her face, and I realized I was out of options. The house went under contract 4 days later. Some young couple with 2 kids, eager to move to a good school district. The closing was scheduled for 30 days out. 4 weeks until I lost my home. 4 weeks until they put me in Riverside Gardens, a facility I'd driven past once and remembered thinking looked sad. Small rooms, linoleum floors, the smell of industrial cleaning products and old age. 4 weeks until they won completely. I stopped sleeping, lay awake night after night, staring at the ceiling, feeling my life slipping away. During the day, I walked through the house like a ghost, touching things. The door frame where we'd marked Travis's height every birthday. The kitchen counter where I'd taught him to make cookies. The living room where we'd spent Christmas mornings, just the 2 of us after his father died. All of it about to belong to strangers. I lost more weight, stopped caring about my appearance. What was the point? Amber made comments about it, of course. Suggested to Travis, loudly enough for me to hear, that maybe it was time to move forward with the Riverside Gardens placement because I clearly couldn't take care of myself. Travis looked at me with what seemed like genuine concern. Mom, you need to eat. You need to take care of yourself. Why? I asked. So I can be healthy when you put me in that facility? He flinched. That's not fair. None of this is fair, Travis. I raised you alone. I sacrificed everything for you. I worked 2 jobs so you could have a good life, go to college, have opportunities. And this is what you do to me? We're taking care of you, Mom. You're stealing from me. My house, my money, my freedom. We're helping you. I walked away. There was no point. He'd convinced himself this was noble somehow, that he was the good son, caring for his aging mother, not the man who'd forged documents and lied and manipulated to steal everything I had. The house sale was progressing. Inspections done. Appraisal complete. Travis and Amber were jubilant. They'd found a new place for themselves, a 4-bedroom house in the suburbs with a big backyard. Using my money, of course. The money they'd stolen from my accounts. They talked about it at dinner, excitedly planning their new life. The nursery would be yellow. They'd get a swing set for the backyard. Maybe a dog. I sat there, pushing food around my plate, invisible. Then one evening, when they thought I'd gone to bed, I heard Amber on the phone. I'd come back downstairs for a glass of water, heard her voice from the kitchen. The old woman never saw it coming, she was saying, laughing. Travis played his part perfectly. A few tears about Mom's health declining, and everyone believes us. By next month, we'll have the house money, and she'll be in that dump on Riverside Drive eating pudding cups. I froze in the hallway. I know, right? Amber continued. She actually trusted him. Can you believe it? After we've been planning this for what, 2 years? Ever since Travis found out she owned the house outright, no mortgage, it was too easy. Her mother on the other end said something I couldn't hear. Amber laughed again. Exactly. I married smart. Found a guy with a widowed mom who had property. Now we cash in and she gets to spend her final years in a crappy nursing home. Justice, right? More from her mother. Oh, don't worry about Travis feeling guilty. He convinced himself this is the right thing to do, that she needs care. He's good at lying to himself. Makes it easier. I backed away slowly, carefully, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst. Made it back to my bedroom. Closed the door. Sat on my bed in the darkness. This had been planned. From the beginning. 2 years. Amber had targeted Travis specifically because of me. Because of my house. This was a con. A long, calculated con, and I was the mark. And Travis was either a willing participant or a fool who'd convinced himself the lie was truth. Either way, my son had betrayed me in the worst possible way. I'd never felt so low, so defeated, so completely alone. I lay down on my bed, fully clothed, and stared at the ceiling. This was it then. They'd won. I had no money to fight them. Helen Jacobs needed a retainer I couldn't pay. My friends believed Amber's stories. The house was sold. In 3 weeks, I'd move into Riverside Gardens, and Travis and Amber would live happily ever after with my money. This was how my life would end. Not with dignity or peace, but with betrayal and defeat. I must have fallen asleep, because I woke to a knock on my door. For a confused moment, I thought it was Travis, that he'd come to apologize, to tell me it had all been a mistake. But it was still dark outside. Late evening, maybe 9 o'clock, and the knock came again, gentle, but insistent. I opened the door expecting Amber with some new demand. Instead, I found Harold Simmons, my neighbor from next door. We'd lived beside each other for 23 years. His wife had died 5 years ago. He lived alone now, kept to himself mostly. "I'm sorry to bother you so late," he said quietly. "But Travis and Amber just left, said they were going to a movie. I saw them drive off, and I need to talk to you about what's been happening." "I'm tired, Harold." "Please, Celeste, it's important. Can I come in?" Something in his voice made me step aside. He came in, looked around carefully, then sat down in the living room. "I've been watching what they're doing to you," he said without preamble. "The things on the lawn, Amber telling people you're sick, the for sale sign, and I don't believe their story. I don't believe you have dementia, or that you can't take care of yourself." I sat down slowly. "You don't?" "I've lived next to you for over 2 decades, Celeste. I've watched you garden, host parties, go to work every day until you retired. I saw how you took care of your husband when he was dying. How you raised Travis alone. You're one of the most capable, intelligent women I know. And suddenly you have dementia? No, I don't buy it." Tears started falling before I could stop them. "You're the first person who said that. Everyone else believes them." Harold reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a USB drive. "I have security cameras. Front and back of my house. They catch part of your yard too. I have footage of Amber throwing your belongings on the lawn. I have footage of Travis and Amber on your porch, laughing and celebrating after you went inside one day. They thought no one could hear them, but my cameras caught it. And I have other footage too, things that might help you." "Why are you helping me?" I asked. "Because my daughter tried to do the same thing to me 7 years ago." He looked down at his hands. "She married a man who convinced her I was getting too old to live alone. They tried to get control of my finances, put me in a home. I fought them. It took 2 years and cost me almost everything, but I won. And I still don't talk to my daughter. Maybe I never will. But I won't stand by and watch it happen to someone else. I should have helped you sooner. I'm sorry I waited this long." I took the USB drive with shaking hands. "This could help?" "Combined with other evidence, yes. You'll need a good lawyer. Do you have one?" "Helen Jacobs. But I don't have money to pay her anymore. They've taken it all." "Then I'll pay her." He held up a hand when I started to protest. "My wife and I saved carefully. We don't have kids who'll inherit, clearly. Let me use some of it to help a friend. Please." I started crying harder. Real sobs. Harold sat there quietly, letting me cry, his presence somehow both strong and gentle. When I could speak again, I said, "Thank you. I don't know how to thank you. Help me stop them," he said. "Help me make sure they don't get away with this. That's thanks enough." For the first time in weeks, I felt something other than despair. I felt hope. Small and fragile, but real. Maybe I wasn't alone after all. Maybe I could still fight back. Maybe I could still win. The next morning, after Travis and Amber left the house, Harold came over with his laptop. We sat at my kitchen table and watched the security footage. There was Amber, clear as day, dragging my belongings onto the lawn, laughing while she did it. The timestamp showed it was 3 hours before I'd come home. Premeditated. Planned. There was another clip of Travis and Amber on the porch 2 weeks earlier, celebrating something. The audio was faint, but Harold had enhanced it. You could hear Amber saying, "She signed everything. The old fool didn't even read it." And Travis laughing, saying, "Told you it would work. She trusts me. Always has." Evidence. Real, tangible evidence of their deception. I called Helen Jacobs, told her about Harold, the footage, his offer to help with costs. She said she'd come by that afternoon. Helen arrived at 3. She watched the videos twice, made notes, asked Harold questions about the camera angles and timestamps. When she finished, she looked at me. "This is good, Celeste. Really good. We can prove fraud, elder abuse, financial exploitation. With this, plus testimony from your doctor confirming you're competent, we have a real case." "What about the house sale?" "We file an emergency motion to stop it. Petition the court to investigate. We'll need to move fast. The closing is in 2 weeks." "Then let's move fast," I said. Helen spent the next week preparing. She got a statement from Dr. Patricia Brennan confirming I had no cognitive impairment whatsoever. She gathered the evidence of Travis's financial theft, the forged signatures on bank documents, the quitclaim deed signed under duress. She interviewed Harold extensively, had him prepare a sworn statement, and she found more. She discovered emails on the shared family computer. I'd forgotten I had access to it. Amber had been careless, left her email logged in. There were messages to her mother, bragging about the plan. Messages with specific references to getting rid of me and cashing in. Messages that spelled out the entire con. Helen made copies of everything, built a case, and on a Friday morning she filed emergency motions with the court. 1 to stop the house sale. 1 to void the quitclaim deed. 1 to investigate financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult. 1 for a restraining order against Travis and Amber. "We're going to court," she told me. "Everything rides on this." I felt nervous and terrified and hopeful all at once. But Travis and Amber found out about the filings before the hearing. Gordon Walsh must have alerted them. That evening, they came home angry. "What did you do?" Travis demanded. "I filed a lawsuit to protect myself and my property." "Mom, this is insane. You're being manipulated. That old man next door and that lawyer, they're taking advantage of you." "No, Travis. You took advantage of me. You and Amber. And I have proof." His face went pale. "What proof?" "The videos, the emails, the forged documents, all of it." Amber looked panicked. "Travis, we need to move fast." That night, they filed their own emergency petition for immediate temporary conservatorship. They had declarations from Gordon Walsh saying I was making reckless legal decisions. They had a statement from a doctor they'd paid, someone who'd evaluated me for 30 minutes at their request and wrote that I showed possible signs of cognitive decline. They painted Harold as a lonely old man, trying to take advantage of me. They painted Helen as a predatory lawyer who saw an easy mark, and they requested an emergency hearing. Same day as our hearing. The judge would hear both sides and decide. The hearing was scheduled for Monday, 3 days away. Amber cornered me in the kitchen on Sunday night. Travis had gone to bed early. She looked at me with cold eyes, all pretense of sweetness gone. "If you don't drop your case, we'll make sure you end up in a psychiatric facility, not just assisted living. We have a doctor who'll testify you're a danger to yourself. Is that what you want? Locked up with truly crazy people?" I met her eyes. "I want my house back, my money back, my life back." "You're not going to win, Celeste. Travis is your son. The judge will believe family over some neighbor with a grudge and a lawyer looking for a payday. You're going to lose, and when you do, we'll make sure you never have freedom again." "Get out of my kitchen," I said quietly. She laughed and walked away. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the hearing. What if she was right? What if the judge believed them? Travis was my son, blood family. Would a judge really believe he'd con his own mother? But then I thought about Harold, about Dr. Brennan, about Helen working so hard on my case, about the evidence we had. I thought about my husband, dead now for 16 years, and what he would want me to do. He'd want me to fight. He'd be ashamed of what Travis had become, but he'd want me to stand up for myself. So I would. Win or lose, I'd stand up. Monday morning came too fast and too slow. Helen picked me up at 8. Harold came too. Dr. Brennan had arranged to be there to testify if needed. At the courthouse, I saw Travis and Amber with Gordon Walsh. Travis looked sick, pale, like he'd barely slept. Good. Maybe he was finally understanding what he'd done. Amber looked défiant, confident. We went into the courtroom, Judge Ellen Crawford presiding. She was maybe 60 herself, gray-haired, sharp eyes. She'd been on the bench for 20 years, Helen had told me. Fair but tough. Both sides presented their cases. Gordon went first. Painted a picture of a declining elderly woman making irrational decisions, being manipulated by outsiders. Travis testified, crying actual tears this time. Talked about how much he loved me, how worried he was, how he just wanted to protect me. It was a convincing performance. I could see some sympathy in the judge's face. Then Helen presented our side. She showed the videos. The judge watched Amber throwing my things on the lawn. Heard the audio of Travis and Amber celebrating my signature on the deed, calling me a fool. The judge's expression changed, hardened. Helen showed the forged bank signatures, the emails where Amber discussed the con with her mother, the financial record showing Travis had transferred thousands of dollars from my account. Dr. Brennan testified that I was completely competent. Sharp, healthy, no signs of any cognitive impairment. Harold testified about what he'd witnessed, his own experience with his daughter trying something similar. The judge asked Travis and Amber questions, direct questions, under oath. She asked Amber about the emails. Amber tried to say they were taken out of context, that she was just venting to her mother, that everyone says things they don't mean when they're frustrated. The judge asked Travis about the quitclaim deed. He admitted I'd been sick when I signed it. Admitted he hadn't fully explained what the document was. Their story started falling apart. Small contradictions, nervous glances at each other, the confidence crumbling. Judge Crawford asked for a short recess. Came back 30 minutes later. I've reviewed all the evidence carefully, Judge Crawford said. Both the testimony and the physical evidence presented. And I'm ready to rule. My heart was pounding so hard I thought everyone in the courtroom must be able to hear it. In the matter of the conservatorship petition filed by Travis Morrison, I find no evidence that Celeste Morrison is in need of a conservator. Dr. Brennan's testimony is compelling and credible, Mrs. Morrison presents as intelligent, articulate, and fully capable of managing her own affairs. The petition is denied. Travis slumped in his chair. Amber's face went white. The judge wasn't finished. In the matter of the emergency motion to void the quitclaim deed, I find that Mrs. Morrison signed the document under duress and without full knowledge of its contents. Mr. Morrison admits she was ill at the time and that he did not fully explain the document's purpose. This constitutes fraud and undue influence. The quitclaim deed is void. Full ownership of the property at 73 Maple Street returns to Celeste Morrison. I felt tears running down my face. Furthermore, the judge continued, the evidence presented, including video footage, emails, and financial records, clearly demonstrates a pattern of financial exploitation and elder abuse. I am ordering Travis Morrison to return all funds taken from Celeste Morrison's accounts, plus damages in the amount of $5,000. I am also granting Mrs. Morrison's petition for a restraining order. Travis Morrison and Amber Morrison are ordered to vacate the property at 73 Maple Street within 72 hours and maintain no contact with Mrs. Morrison except through legal counsel. Judge Crawford looked directly at Travis and Amber. Finally, I am referring this case to the District Attorney's Office for investigation of possible criminal charges of financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult, fraud, and forgery. You two should consider yourselves fortunate that you're walking out of this courtroom today and not being taken into custody. She banged her gavel. Court is adjourned. I couldn't move for a moment. Helen touched my arm gently. You won, Celeste. You won everything. Harold was smiling, tears in his own eyes. Travis and Amber gathered their things quickly, not looking at anyone. As they headed for the door, Travis glanced back at me once. I couldn't read his expression. Shame, anger, regret, maybe all three. I looked away. I had nothing to say to him. Not now, maybe not ever. 3 days later, a moving truck came. Travis and Amber loaded their belongings in silence. Neighbors watched from their yards, suddenly understanding what had really been happening. Carol Martinez came over and apologized for believing Amber's lies. "It's okay," I told her. She was convincing. As Travis carried the last box to the truck, he stopped at the end of the driveway where I was standing with Harold. "Mom, I'm sorry," he said. His voice was quiet, broken. "I was wrong. Amber pushed me, but I made the choice. I was greedy and stupid and cruel. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I'm sorry." Amber glared at him from the truck. "Let's go, Travis. She's not worth it." That decided it for me. I looked at my son. "You're welcome to come back when you're ready to be an honest man," I said. "When you understand what you did and why it was wrong. When you've made real amends, but not before, and not with her." Travis nodded slowly. Got in the truck. They drove away. Harold helped me bring my belongings back inside from where they'd been stored. My mother's quilts, my husband's photographs, the Christmas ornaments, all safe now, all home. Over the next week, more neighbors stopped by. Brought casseroles. Offered help. Word had spread about the court case. Everyone knew the truth now. The local newspaper ran a story. Local woman fights back against financial elder abuse by own family. The reporter called it a cautionary tale and a story of courage. The publicity had unexpected consequences. Amber's employer, a bank downtown, fired her. The news story showed she'd participated in financial fraud, and they couldn't have someone like that working in banking. Travis lost his job too. His company saw the story and decided they couldn't trust someone who'd defrauded his own mother. I didn't feel good about that exactly, but I didn't feel bad either. Actions have consequences. 2 months later, in early spring, I got a text from Travis. A photo of a baby, my granddaughter. She was beautiful, pink-cheeked and tiny, with a little tuft of dark hair. The text said, "Her name is Grace, born March 21st, 7 pounds, 2 ounces. Everyone's healthy." I looked at that photo for a long time, my grandchild. A baby girl I'd never held, might never hold. I texted back, "She's beautiful. Congratulations." That was all. For now, maybe someday there could be more. Maybe Travis would do the work, make the changes, become someone I could trust again. Maybe Grace would know her grandmother. But maybe not, and I'd made peace with that. I'd learned something important through all of this. I'd learned that blind trust, even with family, especially with family, can be dangerous. I'd learned that you have to protect yourself, set boundaries, stand up for what's right even when it's painful. I'd learned that real love isn't about sacrifice without limits. It's about respect, honesty, treating each other with dignity. I'd learned that sometimes the people who hurt us most are the ones we love most, and that you can love someone and still say no to them. You can love someone and still protect yourself from them. I'd learned that I was stronger than I thought, that I could fight back, could win against impossible odds, could rebuild my life after betrayal. But I'd also learned about kindness, about Harold, who could have looked away but chose to help, about Dr. Brennan, who believed in me, about Helen, who fought for me, about neighbors who, once they knew the truth, showed up with food and support and care. The world had good people in it, and I was grateful to have found some of them. I started volunteering at a legal aid clinic downtown. I shared my story with other elderly people facing similar abuse. I helped them recognize the warning signs, the isolation, the financial control, the gaslighting, the fake concern that's really manipulation. I wanted my pain to mean something, to help others avoid what I'd gone through, or to give them courage to fight back if they found themselves in my situation. Now, months later, I'm sitting in my garden on a warm afternoon in late spring. The tulips are blooming, red and yellow and pink. I planted them last fall, after the court case ended. A new beginning. The house is quiet. It's mine again. Really, truly mine. My name on the deed. My money in my accounts. My life under my control. I'm okay. Better than okay, actually. I'm at peace. Sometimes I think about Travis and wonder how he's doing. If he's taking care of his daughter, if he's learned anything, if he has regrets. Sometimes I look at that photo of Grace on my phone and wonder what kind of person she'll grow up to be. If she'll be kind, honest, strong. But mostly, I think about the future. My future. I'm 67 years old, and I've just learned that I'm tougher than I ever knew. That I can survive betrayal and come out stronger. That I can fight for myself and win. That's a powerful thing to know. I water my tulips, feeling the warm sun on my face. Harold waves from his yard next door. I wave back. He's coming over for dinner tonight. We're becoming good friends, two people who've both been hurt by their children but found a way to keep living, keep trusting, keep hoping. Life goes on. Even after betrayal, even after pain. And sometimes, if you're brave enough to fight for it, life gets better. I learned that you can't control what other people do, even your own children, but you can control how you respond. You can choose to fight or to give up, to stand up or to lie down, to protect yourself or to let others destroy you. I chose to fight, and I won. Not just the court case, not just my house and my money. I won my dignity back, my self-respect, my sense of who I am. I won my life back, and that's worth everything. So, if you're out there facing something similar, if someone you love is trying to take advantage of you, control you, steal from you, remember this: you're stronger than you think. You deserve respect and dignity and kindness. And you have the right to fight for yourself, even against your own family. Stand up, get help, document everything. Find your Harold, your Dr. Brennan, your Helen Jacobs, the people who will stand with you. And don't give up. No matter how dark it gets, how defeated you feel, how impossible it seems. You can win. I did, and if I can do it, so can you. Have you ever had to set boundaries with family members who crossed a line? How did you handle it? I'd love to hear your story in the comments below. And if this story spoke to you, if it helped you or gave you courage, please hit that like button, subscribe to hear more stories like this one. Share this with someone who might need to hear it. Someone who's facing their own battle with family betrayal or elder abuse. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here. I hope you found something in it that helps you, encourages you, or simply reminds you that you're not alone. Take care of yourselves, stand up for yourselves, and remember, you're stronger than you think. Until next time.